Now on the CTV News at 5, a Medicine Hat police officer is facing charges. Plus, Alberta Wildfire says we're not out of the woods yet for a potentially dangerous wildfire season. And Alberta Strong means free or reduced admission to some provincial attractions.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Lethbridge police are asking for the public's help finding a missing child. Police say 12-year-old Siobhan Smalleyes has been reported missing. Police did not provide any further details, but anyone with information is urged to contact either police or Crime Stoppers. A Medicine Hat police officer has been arrested for obstructing justice in a more than 2-year investigation conducted by the Edmonton Police Service. The investigation follows complaints from a former Medicine Hat Police Service employee in 2023. The EPS says criminal charges are pending against Constable Noel Dar. He was released from custody and will appear in court next month. The Medicine Hat Police Service says Dar is currently away from work in an unrelated matter. The Office of the Chief will review the constable's duty status following a review of investigative materials when received from EPS. Dar was named in a $1.8 million lawsuit filed by former Police Chief Mike Warden against the City of Medicine Hat Police, and several former employees. No further information has been released. A shocking conspiracy uncovered by RCMP. Some active members of the Canadian Armed Forces are accused of trying to start an anti-government militia motivated by violent extremism. 4 men are now facing charges. Michael Couture reports.
We know that 2 of the accused are active members of the Canadian Armed Forces. Now, police allege 3 of the 4 have been planning to create a militia. And according to the charges, the plan was to forcibly take possession of land in the Quebec City area. With 83 guns and accessories, about 11,000 rounds of ammunition, and smoke grenades, police believe the group was ready to do something serious. A search in January of 2024 also turned up 4 pairs of night vision goggles and military equipment.
The fact that we could charge with facilitating a terrorist activity, that it means that people were actually preparing, were taking actions that led us to believe that they wanted to actually achieve something and wanted to commit this violent terrorist acts.
The RCMP has charged 4 people, and the Department of National Defence confirms 2 of them are active members of the Canadian Armed Forces. Matthew Forbes faces charges related to possession of firearms. Marc-Auriel Chabot, Simon Anger Odette, and Raphaël Lagacé are all facing charges related to facilitating terrorist activity. The terrorism charges span a period between 2021 and 2024 in Montreal, Quebec City, Petawawa, and Rolphton, Ontario. Lagacé's friend of 12 years is shocked at the accusation that he would be trying to create an anti-government militia. It's quite the contrary, actually. He's very pro-government, very pro-monarchy, says the friend. Police say one of the accused created and ran this Instagram account, which was a recruiting tool for new members of the militia.
As soon as they start talking about seizing land, this goes to me to, I think about some of the militias operating in the United States that set up strongholds, areas where the federal government can't go, and try to really keep out law enforcement.
The 4 accused made a brief court appearance this afternoon in Quebec City, and all of them will remain in custody until their next court date, July 14th. Michael Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Danielle Savoni, it is a hot one out there. More heat is on the way for tomorrow, too.
Yes, but I do have something for everybody in this forecast. If you're not a fan of the heat, then you wait another day and you get some relief from that. If you are a fan of heat, well, you have one more day of it before this starts to roll in. So this is the edge of that ridge of high pressure. The ridge of high pressure is what keeps things nice and stable and clear and hot. That's going to start to shift in. So it will start to impact Calgary tomorrow and then the far south by Wednesday, or by the next day. Oh, wow. Okay, 31 degrees is the temperature at the moment. Mainly sunny skies at the moment. Check out all this heat. Now, in some places, it won't be quite as warm tomorrow, but still a lot of heat in the far south. And then by tomorrow night, that's when some rain will start to creep into some areas. We'll talk more about that coming up.
All right, thank you, Danielle. Alberta Wildfire says the fire danger is currently low across most of the province, but we are not out of the woods yet. Hot weather tomorrow and later this week could make it easier for new fires to start or bring those still burning to flare up. Most of the 44 active wildfires in Alberta are under control or being held. Only 13 are out of control. Fire crews are working to contain those fires before the weather really heats up.
We never put firefighters in the path of a extremely active wildfire. It's just not safe. But when the activity gets down to a level where it's smoldering along the edges of a fire, it's then safe to send crews and heavy equipment and that kind of thing in to build the containment lines.
Alberta Wildfire will also be keeping a close eye on the potential lightning activity across the province. The University of Alberta is inviting Cranbrook residents to participate in a survey about wildfire and prescribed burns. The study will explore residents' views on prescribed burns, acceptance of smoke from planned burns versus wildfire smoke, and actions taken to prepare for smoke. Those involved say the goal is to better understand how people perceive and prepare for smoke from planned burns, a growing wildfire mitigation tool in BC. A link to the survey can be found on the City of Cranbrook's Facebook page. Halo Air Ambulance, based in Medicine Hat, says its latest helicopter is officially online for emergency medical calls. Earlier this year, Halo announced the addition of a new helicopter, Halo 1. On June 29th, the aircraft completed its inaugural emergency medical scene call to Bow Island. The helicopter will serve as the primary aircraft for Halo, with a second chopper serving as a backup. Well, the Premier says the province will hold public consultations on adding nuclear power to the province's energy mix. The province is currently reliant on mostly natural gas for electricity, and the Premier says nuclear power could be good for oil sands projects. She referenced the Peace River area that needs about 40,000 megawatts.
Ontario gets 60% of their power, I understand, on their grid from nuclear energy. New Brunswick has nuclear power. And so we'd be looking at yes, both small modular nuclear when they become available, but the CANDU reactors as well as one that's under active discussion in the Peace region.
The Premier says she's in support of nuclear power and has been for some time. Consultations are expected this fall. The Affordabilities and Utilities Minister is also working on a regulatory framework. A new report from Deloitte is forecasting a big jump in Alberta natural gas prices next year. The country's first West Coast export facility is now up and running. Alberta producers now have an outlet to gas markets beyond the U.S. LNG Canada, with its first shipment of gas across the Pacific to Asia from Kitimat, BC last week. Deloitte says that will give producers the confidence they need to invest in new drilling, but the report warns consumers who use natural gas to heat their homes can expect to see their bills go up. Alberta is joining the federal government's Canada Strong Pass by offering free or reduced admission to some provincial attractions. The Royal Alberta Museum is one of 13 museums and historic sites offering free admission for anyone 17 and under until September the 2nd. Entry is half price for ages 18 to 24. The Canada Strong Pass is offering free or reduced admission to national parks and historic sites this summer. Now, some of the other Alberta attractions offering free or reduced admission include the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller, the Remington Carriage Museum in Cardston, and Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. Danielle is back with the 5-day forecast right after this break. We also look at the growing problem of medical misinformation, where it's coming from and how it's impacting us here.
Here's a beautiful sky cam facing southwest. What a beautiful day. And I say beautiful if you can handle the heat. It's hot out there. In fact, southeastern BC and far south in Alberta are the hottest places in the country. So I'm going to step out of the way so you can see that here. So we have a lot of heat building in. We talked about this because of this ridge of high pressure, and heat will continue for all of the far south of Alberta for tomorrow as well. It will start to break in some areas of BC because a front will be pushing in. It will start changing the game a little bit. Okay, 32 right now in Cranbrook, 28 at Banff, 31 in Pincher Creek. So you can see a lot of 30s as you head into Alberta, Calgary, over to Drumheller, and basically down. So lots of heat. We have the heat warning criteria met for these areas for today and tomorrow. So today and tomorrow, this will be in place for tomorrow. So just to the east of Calgary, Vulcan, Champion, Standard, Brooks, down to Medicine Hat, Foremost, Manyberries. All of these communities will have another hot one for tomorrow. And you need 2 consecutive days of that hot days warm nights to meet the heat warning criteria. So here's a ridge of high pressure. This pattern is going to change, and it will start to change in parts of BC and in, well, I'd say Pincher Creek, Crozes Pass for late day tomorrow. Then that change will start to impact all of southern Alberta. So it will be much cooler by Thursday and rainy in most cases as well. And then another ridge of high pressure will build its way in after that. So Friday and for the weekend, it will get more stable and the heat will build once again. So here's a look at that ridge of high pressure. And basically we have the jet stream on the edge here, and that's redirecting all the clouds and moisture up and around us. But as this pattern shifts, it's going to start to allow this to move on in. So tomorrow it will move into the southern part of BC, and then tomorrow night it will start to creep into the Pincher Creek, Crozes Pass area, and then on Thursday it's a big thing for Lethbridge. So let me just advance this and you can see clouds will increase in Lethbridge throughout the day for tomorrow, but again it will remain hot. But you can see the rainfall and even thunderstorm activity pushing in to southern BC here. Cranbrook, Kelowna, you'll see that. And then as we move into tomorrow night, it starts to creep into Pincher Creek, Crozes Pass. And by Wednesday, we may see a little bit of that activity late in the day in Lethbridge, but most likely for Lethbridge, this is a Thursday thing, and it will be heavy at times on Thursday. There may even be some embedded thunderstorms in this as well. But then it clears out for Friday. So I'll show you the longer range in just a second to show you how it will all play out. Evening gusts tonight and even through the overnight hours in the East Kootenay area, 50 kilometers per hour. And then again, we have the potential showers and thunderstorms as that front starts to roll in. A high of 30 expected for tomorrow. 17 and windy tonight and even in the overnight hours for the Crozes Pass area, and up to 70 kilometer per hour gusts possible for tomorrow. A high of 29, and by about 1 in the afternoon, you'll likely start to see some showers. Medicine Hat, all sunshine. This won't impact you at all for tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow night you'll see some showers. Gusts 50 kilometers per hour tomorrow, but that will be a nice little relief considering we'll be getting to 36 degrees. Lethbridge 31 for tomorrow, with the humidity will feel more like 33, gusts around 60 kilometers per hour. And then tomorrow night we could see a sprinkle, but it's Thursday that will likely pick up 5 millimeters of rain, just a high of 21. But then as you can see after that, we get sunshine and the temperatures bounce back to 30s for the weekend.
Alberta Health is reporting 13 more measles cases in our province. Cases are confirmed in every health zone except Edmonton's. There is now a total of 1,230 since the outbreak began in March. The South has 4 new cases for a total of 757. Health officials continue to encourage Albertans to ensure they've received 2 doses of the MMR vaccine. The Canadian Medical Journal is warning about the rise of health misinformation, particularly from the U.S., with recent jumps in measles, syphilis, and HIV cases in Canada. Experts say accurate, reliable health information is urgently needed. CTV's Pauline Chan reports.
Check them, sir.
I did not fact check.
You did not fact check. So
this is the week U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is announcing the members of the vaccine panel at the Centers for Disease Control, something the Canadian Medical Association is watching carefully.
There are noted vaccine skeptics among this group who have echoed RFK Jr.'s ideas such as vitamins will prevent measles, such as that, chemical warfare or various other causes are responsible for the current measles outbreaks instead of the virus.
Dr. Shannon Charlebois says Kennedy and members of the panel will determine which vaccines will be funded in the U.S. The Canadian Medical Association says while medical misinformation has been around since the start of social media, the new U.S. administration is causing alarm for some Canadian health experts.
They've defunded the CDC by 40%, and that's quite significant. And what's more significant is where they have cut that funding from.
She points to things like sexual health clinics and the rise in cases of syphilis and HIV.
Not only do infectious diseases not respect geopolitical borders, but neither does mass media.
The article by the Canadian Medical Association says Canada cannot rely on its southern neighbour to monitor infectious diseases, and Charlebois says it's not just measles and syphilis.
Now we have avian flu, which is spread throughout the country in our domestic poultry. It's also crossed to cow herds in the U.S.
It has infected some humans working with the animals, but the fear is that if it mutates to spread from human to human, the effects will be devastating. The CMA is calling for a national vaccine registry as a first step to strengthening our own system and interoperable health records to allow for secure but easier access to health records between hospitals and between provinces.
And there is nothing sadder than a child dying of a completely preventable disease.
And on an individual level, Charlebois says, do question your doctor about anything you're unsure about. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
An Ottawa firefighter is recovering after a life-saving transplant, and he has a fellow firefighter to thank.
I feel 10 years younger than I did before the surgery.
Back in January, Matt was going through end-stage liver disease and was in desperate need of a donor. No one in his family was a match, but there was a match in his firefighting family. Jenna did not hesitate to step up and become a donor. Both Matt and Jenna are now recovering and are looking forward to getting back to work. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, we hear about sport funding frustrations from a deaf athlete trying to represent Canada internationally. Lethbridge Bulls were back in action last night, hosting the Brooks Bombers at Spitz Stadium. Bulls are currently sitting in second seed in the West Division, while the Bombers are in last. The Bulls came out on top of last night's game with a 4-1 win. Tonight, the Bulls are on the road in Okotoks for a tilt against the Dogs, who sit at the top of the standings in the West Division. Medicine Mavericks are back in action as they host the Weyburn Beavers, and the Brooks Bombers return home to Elks Field tonight as they welcome the Sylvan Lake Gulls to town. First pitch is set for 7:05. Maybe the off-season, but Lethbridge Hurricanes are adding to their roster. The club has signed 2010-born forward Cash Whitmore to a Western Hockey League scholarship and development agreement. The 14-year-old was drafted by the Canes in the first round of the 2025 U.S. Priority Draft. The Lone Tree Colorado product recorded 82 points, including 62 goals in 59 regular season games with the Colorado Thunderbirds, 14 AAA team last season. He is the second player in Canes history selected in the U.S. Priority Draft to sign a WHL scholarship and development agreement. The NHL and its Players Association have ratified an extension of their collective bargaining agreement. The extension means there will be labor peace in the sport through 2030. The sides had previously come to a tentative agreement on the 4-year extension late last month that includes an 84-game regular season with less exhibition play. It also includes shorter maximum contract lengths, a playoff salary cap, and no mandatory dress code for players. An accomplished Toronto golfer is among dozens of deaf Canadian athletes who may be left on the sidelines for an international competition in Tokyo. CTV's Beth McDonnell has more on the funding gaps they're hoping to get addressed.
Russell Bowie's passion for golf has led to serious success. Bowie is hard of hearing and has been wearing hearing aids since he was a toddler. He's also the current world deaf golf champion and was a silver medalist at the last Deaf Olympics in Brazil.
It was an amazing experience, and finishing on a podium and doing well, and was just it was something I'll never forget. But obviously this time there's one better spot to get.
The next Deaf Olympics are in November, and this time Bowie hopes to bring home gold. But those dreams could be over for him and close to 50 other hard of hearing and deaf athletes set to travel for the competition if the Canadian Deaf Sports Association doesn't raise enough money.
Just be a big loss mentally, emotionally, and also just a lot of money has been spent preparing up to this point as well. So to have all that just go away and nothing to show for it would be a shame.
The association says it's trying to raise $100,000, but so far only has $30,000. While Canada has been sending athletes to the Deaf Olympics since the 1960s, it says the cost of living has risen significantly and traveling to Japan is very expensive. And it's calling on Canadians to help send this year's contingent.
And now the recent development of, maybe a funding shortfall is definitely not something you wanted to be thinking about.
Bowie says there's been a lot of excitement to represent Canada in Japan, and he and other athletes will be devastated if they can't go.
Just a really neat, cool, enriching opportunity that, for all of us going, it's something that, we love doing, and we do everything we can to be a part of these competitions.
Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
Still ahead on the CTV News, how a BC couple is giving personality to their shrubbery. Breaking news in the hockey world, 17-year-old superstar Gavin McKenna of the Medicine Hat Tigers has committed to Penn State for next season. McKenna is widely expected to be the #1 overall pick in next year's NHL draft. This is a groundbreaking move. It's the first time a CHL superstar has chosen to play for name, image, and likeness money at a U.S. college. It allows student athletes to profit from endorsements and sponsorships. This is the first season CHL players are eligible to play NCAA hockey. After a rule change last year, McKenna posted 129 points in 56 games for the Tigers last season. He made the announcement moments ago on a live ESPN broadcast.
Super tough decision. Obviously, there's a lot of great options out there. But I think me, my family, and everyone who's a kind of part of my circle, we all decided the best spot for me next year will be Penn State University. I think Penn State is a great spot for me.
McKenna is expected to make around $700,000 US. Meanwhile, a Canadian couple is proving that obstacles can be turned into opportunity. Adam Swatsky has more.
Every time she backed up her car,
the head on the swivel really a lot.
Tracy Ferreria's view of the oncoming traffic was blocked by that bush.
It was a bit of a challenge, safety-wise.
But Tracy didn't want to cut it down. So her husband John wondered if the best workaround was to cut through it.
And so I made a couple of holes.
Which proved to be a whole lot of help for Tracy.
That's brilliant. This is so much easier to get out of the driveway.
Until a friend mentioned the hole looked like a mouth.
You got to make a face. So I made a face, let the hair grow on it.
He even named it. But despite John's best efforts, the dude seemed to be somewhat dour.
I said, you got to do one on the other side that's happy.
So John made the other side smile, which not only inspired passing people to share appreciative comments, but leave presents too.
And left a beer there for me to say thank you. For Christmas, someone left a card and say thank you.
Because every season, Tracy and John find some way to make the dude even more dynamic.
For Halloween, I have a mannequin that I stuff in its mouth there.
While the grumpy side can get ghoulish, the smiling side is happy to hop at Easter or ho 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 come Christmas.
I sewed a really big Santa hat to put on it.
But when it comes to celebrating our country, there's a consensus that both sides fly flags attached to hockey sticks.
In today's world, I think we need to do happy stuff.
Which is why John has expanded his positive pruning to include a second bush he calls the little dudes, who Tracy calls the kids, because like real children, they also can't get enough of Christmas.
A little bit of effort can bring a whole lot of joy. So why not take the time?
Adam Swatsky, CTV News, Saanich.
Now to the early edition of the CTV National News.